Okay. Well, looks like that room expiration has restarted with plenty of time, so that's good. And we'll give it a few minutes. Welcome everyone who's joining us. If you see three people staring blankly into the distance, you've come to the right place.
I just actually typed into the chat bar there to say hello, just to make sure that chat is working and people are starting to say hi. So let us know where you are coming in from. Say hi, hello. Helps us to know that you can see us and that you can hear us, which is always very important when we're about to do this for the next hour or so together. Hi, Sheila. Hi, Nikki, Melissa, Donna. Amazing. Hi, Bessie. A couple of familiar names in here. Lots of you coming into the room.
See, clearly I'm with two experts who do this way more than me. I don't know when we reach the quorum of, starting. Oh, okay. Well, seems like we've got a lot of folks. So
yeah, we'll give it a couple of minutes here. We're just at 6:01. Coming in from England, Minnesota, Ontario, England, Toronto, Texas, Dallas. Awesome. Amazing.
Wow.
Very good. And from England. What time is it in England right now? Philadelphia, Mississauga. Awesome. Las Vegas, all over. Amazing.
This is great.
Puerto Rico, Virginia. It's 11 p.m. in England. Well, you, Anne, are going to need to go to bed right after we get off of this. That's going to be bonus tip number one of how to support your hormones and your body is to get to bed right after this.
You could take some CBD right as we're starting to finish the podcast, and it'd be perfect.
Oh, there's Laura from Keswick. That is where I live. Hi, Laura. Boston, Tallahassee. Amazing.
Scotland. Wow, we got a couple people across the pond there. Very nice.
I can never not see Scotland and not think about Outlander now, ever. That will forever be what I think about for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, very nice. Okay. What do you think?
I think we're good to go.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Sounds like we've got a great audience from all across the U.S. and Canada and even overseas. So this should be great. And we got an hour to talk to two wonderful experts, Jenn Pike and Dr. Will Cole, who I will introduce and turn over to shortly. My name is Dan Dolgen. I am the CEO and co-founder of Eaton Hemp. We are a hemp portfolio company that was born on the first hemp farm in New York. So we are really the flag bearers for the cannabis industry in New York. Got our license in 2016 and created this brand a couple of years ago. When I say hemp portfolio company, what does that mean? We use the entire plant. So we are committed to using seeds, to using the fiber, the stalk, and to using the flower. What do we do with that? Well, I'm going to show and tell a little bit here. With the seeds, we make all sorts of hemp-based foods. The hemp seed itself is one of the most complete plant proteins on earth. We make these toasted hemp seeds. We do hemp parts. We've got a new product called Super Bites, which are out, which are kind of raw balls. They're vegan, gluten-free. Everything we do is organic, and they're super delicious, super healthy. These do not have CBD or THC in them, but they're really a great way to power your day. Hemp seeds also contain hemp seed oil, which is in the seed itself, which is the only vegan alternative to fish oil. So you get all your omega-3s and 6s and things like that. With these stalks, we actually create a line of pet care products. So we have a name for that brand, which is Eaten Pet and Pasture. And we create small animal pet bedding. We also create some products with Timothy hay and alfalfa, which is used for rabbit food. And we've got a whole other line of products in the works there. And then, of course, with the flower, which is kind of what brings you all here, is we do CBD tinctures. I'll show you here. This is what a tincture looks like, in case anyone is wondering or you haven't experienced before. So it's basically CBD oil. It's full spectrum organic. If I can hold this up. And then we do pre-rolls, which are the flower kind of pre-rolled. I guess you can say it's kind of a joint, but we can talk a little bit more about the difference between why you would inhale CBD versus whether you would use it as a tincture. And then we do lotions and things like that. We've always got products in development, but the point is we are committed to using every part of the plant so nothing goes to waste, and making sure everything is grown organically and full transparency in everything that we do. If you make it through the podcast, we have a 30% discount on our products, so we'll give that out a little bit later. But today's topic is really how to restore balance into to your body and what CBD can do to help that with things like stress, with hormonal balance, with sleep. And we couldn't have two better people to talk to about that. Really, the foremost experts about balance and nutrition and stress and hormones. So we have Jenn Pike, who is the host of the Simplicity Sessions, which is a podcast. She's also a functional diagnostic nutritionist, a registered holistic nutritionist, and certified yoga and Pilates instructor. And she talks a lot about hormonal health, especially in her podcast. So really hope you guys go check out the Simplicity Sessions. And we also have Dr. Will Cole, who is a functional medicine expert with his own private practice based out of Pittsburgh, and the author of many best-selling books. He's got The Ketotarian, The Inflammation Spectrum, and then just came out with Intuitive Fasting. And they're all excellent. You can't go wrong with any of them. I've read them, and they're great, and they're great kind of guideposts to just kind of restore more balance to your life through nutrition. And yeah, so we'll turn it over to Jenn, and then we'll hear from Dr. Cole, and we'll sort of make this very conversational. If you guys have questions, please put them in the chat room. We'll try to get to everything as much as we can, and we'll kick it off. So Jenn, over to you.
All right. Well, thanks for the intro. So I'm a functional diagnostic nutritionist and medical exercise specialist. And in my practice, I work 100% with women. I'm the founder of the Hormone Project. And so I really specialize in women's health and hormones and helping them to understand what the signs and symptoms that they are experiencing and going on in their body could be meaning. And we do that through different functional tests and really, quite honestly, holding the space for conversation with these women, learning more about what is going on in their body, what are they experiencing, what is their timeline health history, how long has this been going on, and then truly helping them to understand some of the strategies that may be needed in order to create more simplicity and ease in their body. And for me, CBD came into my life in the last couple of years. I was introduced to it rather. I'd been getting lots of questions from clients. I hadn't used it myself. And I started to use it. And what I really recognized was the difference in my deep sleep. So I wear an Oura ring. So I have the metrics. I track it. I see the difference. And I noticed a big difference in my deep sleep. It actually doubled for me. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I didn't shift or change anything else that I was doing lifestyle-wise that I was taking other than a ml of the tincture. That is what I chose for myself. And so then I tested it the opposite way. After doing it for a while, I took it out of my system to see, did I notice a difference? And I noticed a difference. And again, because I have something that was helping me to understand what was going on. And so then I've been incorporating this into my practice with women for a variety of reasons. Sleep, definitely, but anxiety, HPA dysregulation, which is that hypothalamic pituitary adrenal connection. So a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelm. Inflammation has been a big one. I've seen a lot of benefit of that in my practice as well, too. So I'm really excited about the conversation tonight and happy to be here and answer questions.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me and for the introduction. And like Jenna just said, we're seeing a lot of the same people with a lot of these different inflammatory problems. And I have a passion to really help people that are struggling with different autoimmune problems and give them a functional medicine perspective on their case. And the patients that I see are very complex cases. I'm not their first round of doctors for sure. They've exhausted pretty much everything conventional medicine has to offer them. And oftentimes many people in the alternative space, the integrative space too, and beyond the basic stuff. And I've seen CBD be a massively helpful tool to modulate inflammation, to lower inflammation levels, to support their immune system and support brain function, support sleep. People that have panic disorders, I've seen just an amazing needle mover in the positive direction for people's lives. So this is something, I started one of the first functional medicine telehealth centers over a decade ago. So my entire career I've done telehealth. I've had a unique position of seeing all different types of people around the world with these different set of issues, and being able to see something like CBD to be a game changer in people's lives. So I'm excited to be part of today's conversation.
Awesome. Well, I know, there's probably folks who aren't familiar with what CBD even is. So I can sort of talk to that a little bit. And then, we can chat about what it actually does in the body itself. So CBD is made from the cannabis plant. So what is cannabis, right? So there's two sides of cannabis. There's hemp, and then there's marijuana, or whatever we would kind of call it, adult use. There's different terminology, but it's obviously the variety that people would tend to ingest or inhale for kind of the relaxation, kind of head high type of thing. So hemp, by legal definition, has less than 0.3% THC, which means it doesn't have enough to show up on a drug test or to get you high or to get you, feeling like you can't operate a vehicle or do work or work out or things like that. Hemp has a variety of different uses, as we kind of went through, from, textiles to fuel to food to fiber to all sorts of great things. CBD is found in both the marijuana plant and in the hemp plant. And what you do is you extract it from the actual flower itself, or you can inhale the flower. So for the purposes of our discussion here, we're talking about CBD that is derived from the hemp plant, which again means it has no THC and it can't get you high. And there's a variety of different ways that you can ingest it. If you use the tincture, as we had here, you basically take a dropper, or we suggest when you start, this is an extra strength. We sell regular strength and extra strength. If you're new to CBD, you probably want to start with regular strength, and kind of everybody's body will sort of react differently to to CBD. You can't overdose on it. You can't, if you take too much, sure, you might feel a little, out of sorts, but really it's very hard to get to that level. And we suggest, if you're new to it, you kind of start small. So you take a half dropper of the regular strength and you see how you react to it, and you kind of work your way up. You put it under your tongue. You kind of wait 30 seconds. You might start feeling just a little bit of relaxation. I liken it to kind of drinking a cup of chamomile tea at night. It's not going to put you to sleep, but it's going to kind of give you that feeling of, moment, I would say. I take it in the morning as well to counterbalance kind of the jitters with coffee. So the tinctures are really great. You could also, you inhale it. So this is how we sell our pre-rolls here. And they are, we sell an uptime or an anytime and a downtime. The downtime's better at night after work. The anytime that you could really use during the day. When you inhale CBD, it's the fastest way to get it into your bloodstream, and it's the most bioavailable, which means that more of it's getting into your bloodstream. So that's kind of the different ways that we ingest it, and you could also use it as a topical in lotions to spot treat inflammation, hydration, and things like that. So that's kind of what CBD is, and one of you want to talk maybe about the endocannabinoid system and how CBD kind of works and reacts once it gets into your body.
Yeah. Well, if you want to talk about that, you can start there, and then I can layer in the hormones.
Absolutely. So the endocannabinoid system, the ECS, is something that we need for a function, and the human body would not be around without a healthy, vital, well-modulated ECS. And the problem is, I mean, so much of the systems in our body are dysregulated because of what researchers refer to as genetic epigenetic mismatch. So it's about 99% of our genetics. The majority of our genetics haven't changed in 10,000 years. Yet our world has changed so much in such a dramatic period of, in such a dramatic way, in such a finite period of time. When you're looking at the foods we're eating or the foods we're not eating, soil depletion, so the loss of nutrient density in the foods that we're eating, exposure to toxins, chronic stressors, advancements in technology, which have their benefits, but also have their drawbacks and the impact they're having on the human health. There's so many different factors, from the water that we drink to the air we breathe to I could go on and on. There's so many different variables here. So these are epigenetic stressors, and our DNA is living in this brave new world, and it hasn't changed in 10,000 years, and it's being these genetic predispositions for different things like autoimmune issues or metabolic issues or different inflammatory problems. They've been lying dormant for a long time, but they're being triggered and awoken like never before in human history because of this evolutionary mismatch or this genetic epigenetic chasm that's growing by leaps and bounds. And that's why we're seeing a level of mental health issues and autoimmune problems and different inflammatory problems. So part of the dysregulation, the part of the dysfunction that's going on largely has to do with an unhealthy ECS. And that's why I feel like we are seeing so many benefits to people bringing CBD into their life because their ECS is so dysregulated. Mm-hmm. And that's impacting inflammation levels. That's impacting their mood. It's impacting their hormones. It's impacting all these things, impacting their gut health. And when you bring in something like this that's modulating it in a positive way, it's like, in a way, the way that I think about it is like almost a multivitamin for your ECS, where it's kind of just it's getting it to function in a way it was designed to, the way that it was meant to. But we're living in such this disharmony with everything. So that's really what it is. It's a massive system of the body that regulates inflammation levels, impacts our mood, and impacts our hormones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Is it fair to say, because that, as you said, we all have an endocannabinoid system, and CBD, when you ingest it, basically tells that system to produce more of it, right? So it's not necessarily that what you're putting in is doing it. It's more what you're putting in is telling the entire system to regulate itself by doing more of these things. And your body will decide naturally where it needs to go to fight whatever or reduce whatever it's trying to reduce.
Exactly. It's a messenger. It's a messenger that modulates the ECS in a positive way.
Yeah. And Jen, how, in terms of your practice, like you mentioned it before, in terms of stress and anxiety, have you been, obviously with the with the pandemic, you know, what are some of the kind of factors that you're seeing kind of people bring to you that they're trying most to deal with? Is it sleep? Is it anxiety? Is it all the above? Or what are you seeing mostly?
So many things and all of the above. Especially, I mean, again, I'm working with women, primarily mothers. So this last 18 months has just rocked them. It has essentially pulled the rug out from underneath them. Most women disproportionately had majority of the responsibility on them for their own health, their family, their children, you know, their careers, whatever it may be. And now we've just tacked on this massive level of uncertainty, and the game is changing every single day. And, you know, as human beings, we're designed to be able, like, we have insane agility in our immune system and resiliency on a good day to be able to pivot and change direction and adapt. However, the way that we are designed as human beings is for that to happen short term, every now and again, not all the time. What's going on is chronic low-grade stress, and it's a slow leak, and people don't recognize the totality of what's happening to their body as a whole, you know, including the systems we're talking about, but their nervous system, which is where we actually, you know, this is where we live our life, is through our nervous system, right? And this is how we show up. So they're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling anxious, depressed, they're feeling feelings they've never felt before. There's trauma that's surfacing. They're not sleeping. They're losing their hair. Their menstrual cycles are irregular. Perimenopause symptoms are horrible. You know, the skin's breaking out. Their digestive systems are a mess, to be quite honest. Like, there's a lot of different things going on. And I'm not coming on here and saying like CBD is going to fix every single thing we just talked about, but it's like Dr. Cole said, it's a modulator. So it's the synergy of how it works, and it's a nudge to the body. It doesn't slam the system or suppress. It goes in and is just like, hey, like, you got this. That it stimulates those receptors. That's what they're there for. That's the whole messenger system of our body. And this is our hormones, right? They are chemical messengers. But what's happening for so many women now is they don't understand the messages that are coming to them because they're outnumbering their ability to know how to manage this. And so the CBD, what I find, and I mostly use the tincture in my practice. A, I like that it's sublingual. B, it's bioavailability. I don't have to worry about the gut with it. Is that it helps to take the edge off so they can ground themselves, and it sharpens their cognition, their focus and clarity. And it's like, okay, now we've landed. We have 2 feet on the ground now. Now we can start to put the next kind of step into action. So that's what I've been seeing a lot in my practice. Yeah,
I think you hit on something that I always try and dispel. Well, 2 things. One is, it is not a panacea for all the world's ills. You know, nothing is, right?
Nothing is.
It's a great additive to your daily regimen. Jen and I, you and I have talked about this on your podcast, that it's, you know, it's something where it might be a subtle difference in your ability to cope with stress. It might be something that shows up more in blood work than it does, especially if it's something where you're not taking it for something that you necessarily feel outward, right? But it's something that your body is fighting off, but you don't necessarily feel that, or you don't know that you're feeling it.
Right.
And so
I think that's a big part of it. I think that is it, is that we are very much right now, like, I'm good, I've got it. Like, I'm okay, without recognizing like the erosion, the slow erosion that is happening, you know, beneath it. And so we start to take something and we're like, here's the thing I noticed with people. And this was my experience. I didn't think I needed anything to help support my sleep. If you had asked me previously, I would have been like, yep, like I sleep throughout the night, I'm all good. And then when I saw this different metric, then it had me reevaluate, well, was I actually sleeping all that well? And you know what? And then I started to connect to different, you know, awareness in my body. And it was like, no, like, I actually feel more refreshed now. And so I know people are asking in the sidebar, all the different things, can it help? Here's what I would say to you is, like, again, we can't sit here and say, oh yeah, bang on, it's going to do this, 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 and that. But I would try it, and I would start with a small amount and then titrate up. And what we tend to do when we hear something is natural or whatever is we'll go like hog wild and think more is better. The best tools you'll ever use for your health, small, consistent doses. Like, again, just come back to, this is a nudge. We're not trying to override your system. So I like to start low and slow. And then if you need to, build up from there.
Yeah. And Dr. Cole, I know, kind of building on what Jen was saying, like, in your practice, how much do you have to convince patients that you don't have to suck these things up and hold it, I think we've learned, and maybe it's an older generation where it's like, oh, this is part of life, stress and anxiety, and when you're reach middle age, you have gut health issues and things like that, and like telling people like that's actually not normal. And we can, I think, as we progress and science progresses and we know more about the body and nutrition, that we could actually put things in our body that are working with it instead of against it. And so I'm just wondering, when people come to you, and they're looking for, ways to feel better, I'm certain that they're probably not even mentioning certain things that's happening in their life that they actually probably should. Then it probably shows up in blood work, and this is the type of thing that CBD might actually help with.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting. I think most of the people that by the time they're coming to see me, they're pretty well read as far as knowing about their body, knowing their options, and knowing they're not where they want to be. They're not in denial about it. That doesn't mean they don't understand. Most of them don't understand the full breadth of what's going on, but there's enough of a check engine light in their life to realize this isn't normal. I'm not settling for this. I don't know exactly what it is. They may have Dr. Googled a little bit and think they know a few things, and a lot of them are right because they're so intuitive with their health and have done their due diligence on their end, and I applaud them. Many people in the autoimmune community had to be their own advocate and had to be their own doctor in many ways to get answers. And that's what leads them to people like us in the functional medicine space, in the functional nutrition space. But anyways, the point is, when they're there, they're pretty much aware that something's going on. And there's a few things that are the low-hanging fruits that are like, yeah, this is what's impacting my quality of life. This is what's really keeping me back. And then when we run labs, there can be a lot of other things beyond the surface that we don't. That's why we're running the labs that are contributing to the symptoms that they're having. And I'll tell you what the thing is for a lot of people is that we can dial in the food, we can dial in the clinical nutrition stuff. And one thing that's harder for people is, and it's a lot more nebulous in a way, is when you're talking about the concept of stress, right? Because it's a lot harder to say, well, don't stress. And then they stress about not stressing. And then problem. And like dealing with the multifaceted depth of chronic stressors and trauma, if I could add that to that, and the impact that has on our physical health is great. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like in a way that CBD can be such a great tool, because it's kind of the gateway between the mind and the body in a way. And that's what the ECS is really. It kind of, it deals with both sides of it. And it kind of, in a way, the way that I see it for some patients, it kind of gets their head above water. It's that gentle nudge where they can start to deal with things and do trauma work or go to the therapist or go to different modalities in that space to deal with things in their past that's impacting their physical health today. But I think CBD is great for all of these facets.
Yeah, I mean, just as from our brand, we just hear anecdotal evidence mostly, because obviously people aren't, we're not doctors or practitioners in that sense. But people will say they've, after months, it's like they look back and say, well, these things improved, and again, it may be subtle differences, but when you talk to them about, well, what have they done differently, and introducing CBD into their daily regimen is one of those things. A lot of people come to us particularly with sleep issues, and CBD is not a narcoleptic in the sense it's not going to put you to sleep, but it prepares you for sleep. And it's sort of whatever time of day you're using it, it's sort of going to prepare you for that period of time. That's why I say I take it in the morning a lot too, because it kind of brings me focus for for the day. But if I take it at night when my body is already kind of, maybe it's dealing with stress, and I'm having my brain is spinning about, what I'm doing tomorrow or what I did that day, it just kind of gives me that relaxation. And then when I go to sleep, that's what I notice the most, and what people say they notice is you have such a deep sleep, and you don't wake up with a lot of the hangovers that, some of the synthetic medications will give you. It's not a melatonin either. I find that I get a day hangover with melatonin as well. So, that's the beauty of it. I think it gives you what it needs to give. It tells your body to do what your body needs to do at that period of time that you're taking it.
Yeah. And I think that's something you just hit on there that's important around the melatonin. I will use, melatonin clinically from time to time, but a lot of people either do get that hangover effect because they're using too much. That's oftentimes what it is. Or you'll have the opposite where some people are actually stimulated by melatonin. And we've looked at melatonin as being like, the catch-all for everything sleep. But it's not. And again, it comes down to what are we using things with? So with the CBD, like a couple questions will come up of timing to take it. For me, I take it like a half an hour or so before bed, but it's also the intention you put around when you're taking what you're taking. Yeah. So if you're taking your CBD, but you're still on your screen, you're still, bopping around trying to get everything done in the house and burning the candle at both ends, you can't just shut off the light and be like, I took the CBD, I am now going to lie down, and the best sleep is going to visit me. So it's thinking about that. And you may also want to combine that with certain minerals that help your system relax, right? Like you can do CBD with your magnesium. You can do CBD with GABA or L-theanine, right? Some other things. And so I think it's important for people to understand too, that this is a tool that becomes part of your resource kit.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone had asked, I think it's Paola, if I'm saying your name right, about hormone palettes, which is a phrase I am new to. So maybe that's Jen. What is a
hormone palette? So that is like a whole nother Pandora's box that's probably outside of what we're really talking about. That's part of what's used with like hormone replacement therapy. Some prescribing practitioners will use pellets. I definitely wouldn't be the one to even go there because I'm not a prescribing practitioner. So I think there's maybe some other ones that we could look at.
You got it.
Answering here. Yeah.
Sorry, Paula. Well, blood pressure and brain health, Dr. Cole, maybe it's something you can speak to.
Yep, absolutely. So a few things that are going on. I mean, we're talking about inflammation levels, right? And this notion that mental health is separate than physical health. Mental health is physical health. Our brain is part of our bodies. And we're having this conversation about inflammation. We can't leave the brain out because the brain and neuroinflammation is a major part of many mental health issues. There's a whole field of research called the cytokine model of cognitive functions. Cytokines are pro-inflammatory cells. It's research looking in the scientific literature, looking at how inflammation impacts our mental health, impacts how our brain works. So the CBD has a nice modulating effect, has been shown to have a nice modulating effect on how our brain works. One of the ways is it lowers neuroinflammation. It can support balanced inflammation levels, which is what we want. Now, look, I guess I should say this, that inflammation is not inherently bad. It's a product of the immune system. We need measured appropriate inflammation levels. The problem is inflammation too high for too long. That's chronic inflammation. So I'm saying it's modulating inflammation and supporting balanced inflammation levels. That's what we want. We want balance here. We want homeostasis, that Goldilocks principle, not too high, not too low, but just right. And that's certainly true with inflammation in the brain. We have what's called the microglial cells. It's our brain's immune system. And we want the brain to be slightly being pruned by the microglial cells, but we don't want the ravaging of an overactive microglial cells that can trigger a cascade of inflammation levels, which is associated with things like anxiety and depression and brain fog and fatigue and people that have neurological autoimmune issues like MS and other inflammatory problems of the brain. And what I really love from a brain health standpoint is people that have anxiety or, they have issues with excitatory activity in the brain. It's a nice calming effect on those pathways. And Yeah, so that people that I use it clinically for patients that have neuroinflammation, people that have brain fog, and yeah, so the people that have autoimmunity with neuroinflammation and anxiety, probably the top ones, and then you can't. I mean, all of this is tied to sleep as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we have some questions about how it interacts with SSI medications, and also kind of help getting off, antidepressants. And I think it can help with both side effects to medication when you're first going on, and I think similar to side effects when you're getting off. I think, as always, consult your physician about interaction with different compounds. But have either of you dealt with folks who have used CBD in conjunction with different kind of prescribed medications? And what's your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I have. I mean, it's something that if somebody's on a medication and there's several that can interact with CBD, they have to get, like you said, the okay from their doctor. And we are starting off low and slow, just like Jen had mentioned. So it's something that we're monitoring on our end from a functional medicine side. Their conventional doctor that's prescribing the medications looped in, if it's done appropriately and dosed appropriately, and you get to go ahead from your doctor, it can be a great adjunctive tool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, in terms of sourcing too, and we'll get back to some other questions. One thing I wanted to mention is with CBD, whether it's our brand, and I hope it is, but with any type of compound, especially natural compound that's hemp derived, it's really important that it's organic and certified organic. Certified organic means that the soil's been tested by there's various agencies that come and do this thing professionally, and you can use that USDA stamp of approval. With hemp, it's what's called a phytoremediation plant, which means it draws toxins up from the soil. In fact, they've used hemp to clean up oil spills, brownfields, even in Chernobyl. They've used hemp to help clean up the radiation. And because it's so good at taking toxins from the soil, that means when you're putting it into your body, it's also taking whatever, you are what you eat, so to speak. Well, hemp is what it eats, and it's eating and taking from the nutrients in the soil. So making sure you have a organic source that's transparent, where it's grown, how it's processed, is really, really important. A couple of other things to know in terms of terminology. We've talked about full spectrum, there's broad spectrum, isolate. What does all of that mean? Full spectrum means that when you extract the oil from the flower, that you're not taking anything out. And the reason why full spectrum is important is because you think of it like rather than taking a vitamin C pill, you're eating the whole orange. CBD is one of many compounds in the hemp plant that is really important for all of that to kind of interact together. If you're just isolating it, it could be losing its effectiveness. So we prefer kind of the full spectrum oil because you've got CBN, you have CBG, you have all these other compounds that they're also now starting to study and showing that different compounds will sort of hit on different components. CBN is starting to become very popular because that is very much more of a sedative and will help you fall asleep and that's something you would take at night. CBG is the opposite, sort of like a caffeinated compound that if you isolate or take more of that, it's going to give you more of a pep. So the full spectrum kind of gives you all of the above. Broad spectrum, if people are absolutely worried about any THC whatsoever, they want 0.0. Broad spectrum is oil that does that. Again, full spectrum has by definition less than 0.3%, so it's not going to get you high, but some people prefer just to eliminate that altogether. And then you have isolate, which is just the pure compound of CBD itself. That's what, when you're looking at CBD that's put in food or in beverages, typically they'll isolate the CBD as an ingredient and put it into a food or beverage. So that's all the terminology. And again, we're happy to talk more about that if anyone has any questions, but I know it can get confusing, and knowing where to source it and how to get it is very confusing. I'll throw it out there. We have our on eatenhemp.com. If you use the code word at checkout, Cole Pike, COLEPIKE.
I like it. Sounds like a good brand.
Yes, exactly.
Cole Pike.
It's a 30% discount, and we have a 30-day money-back guarantee. We stand by our products completely. So if you try it and you're finding for whatever reason it doesn't agree with you, or it doesn't do what you think it's advertised to do, we'll give you your money back. So eatenhemp.com, Cole Pike is the checkout code word for 30% off. And let's see if we've got some more questions here.
Yeah, I'm seeing quite a few there on the side asking in relation to like gut inflammation, chronic fatigue, a lot of symptoms that actually could be connected and tied together. And so what I would say is, Will was mentioning this, and in my practice is the same. I always say, like, I'm typically the last stop on the struggle train for women, because I really do kind of cut through the BS with them and get to what we need to do, which oftentimes is looking at different testing, truly understanding what's going on so that we're not just like throwing, random darts at an invisible target. And I would say that if you have chronic gut inflammation that's going on, or inflammation as a whole in your body, to do specific testing to understand what's really going on outside of blood work. So blood serum work can be wonderful, but you may need to actually do specific gut testing, like stool testing or dried urinary testing for your hormones, whatever is going on. And you can utilize the CBD as part of that healing protocol. I do that often. I do a lot of gut healing protocols with clients, whether it's for parasites or mold that we're working on, and bacterial overgrowth and H. pylori and that. And CBD has been very beneficial in supporting their body throughout the process. So I just wanted to mention that because I think sometimes we can get hyper-focused on the one thing. And the reality is with our body is that it's never one thing. Right. It's being able to, like, you got to pull back and look at the full, spectrum of what it is that's going on, and then start to, build your arsenal, which is your team and your products of support.
Yeah. And Dr. Cole, we've talked about this because when I go to my primary physician and I do an annual blood work and checkup and things like that, they'll send me the results and they'll say, oh, you're fine here. You're fine here. You're in the average, you're in the whatever it is. But I don't know if my hands, you can see it on screen, but like, I feel like the end posts are so far apart. They're not really dialing in. And I think that's what people come to you for, is really to get to narrow those endpoints and say, okay, yeah, it's not okay just to be like within this huge bandwidth. Like, that's, again, goes back to what we've come to accept as normal health. Well, I think, zeroing in on some of these lab results and opening them up and seeing kind of where can we fine tooth so you can feel better is key. So maybe you can talk about kind of what your practice does specifically, and if I capture that right, that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. That it is exactly what we do in functional medicine and functional nutrition. We're looking at the optimal ranges, not average. We're looking at optimal, not average. The lab reference range that you're going to get in the States, at least LabCorp and Quest, or your conventional GP in Canada, you're going to get this large reference range that is based off of the statistical bell curve average of the population of that specific lab. People that are predominantly going to labs are, sadly, unfortunately, people with health problems. So there's a lot of people, especially women, but all types of people, that know intuitively something's not right, but these labs come back quote unquote normal. Right. And what the doctor's telling them unintentionally is that you're a lot like the other people with health problems that we're comparing you to. Just because something's common doesn't necessarily mean it's normal. And comparing yourself to people that go to labs is no way for you to find out what's going on. So I think in this conversation around CBD, this is actually really appropriate, because if somebody's looking at inflammation levels, if someone's looking at even their sleep and what that looks like, you can measure these things. This is objective data that we can get a baseline, whether that's a blood test, whether that's a stool test, whether that's other advanced inflammation tests that we run or immunological labs that I run, or it's like Oura Ring and you're tracking your sleep. Like, what is your baseline? And the only way you know a lot of these things is if you test. And I'm not saying you have to run every lab under the sun or get every biohacker thing under the sun, but what are the things that are going to be the biggest insight for you without stressing you out, but just like giving you insight? And you can learn it for a time and then drop it. I don't want people to become obsessive with these things, but looking in and checking in, especially with labs, you're only testing every few months or so and tracking your progress. And I love doing that with patients and bringing something in like CBD and watch those inflammation levels come down and watching their sleep improve, et cetera.
Yeah, what
and it's a really powerful tool, right? Ahead, Jen, to be able to that is the disadvantage that happens, is that you may go for the test to get the blood work done or whatever it is, but if no one actually walks you through so you understand the why behind the what and what's going on in your body, you don't become a more empowered, educated, informed person. And then you tell yourself the story, like, I've tried everything, I don't have self-control, I don't have the willpower, I don't have this, that, and the other. And you form this story on the basis that, well, I'm just meant to feel crappy, I'm a lemon, my body's broken, I had the test, everything was fine. As where if someone had actually broken things down for you, helped you understand, what suboptimal is, right? Like we don't want to just be fine. I don't want to be fine in my health. I want to feel kick ass. I want to feel amazing. And I need someone to help me to understand that. So I know, like you said, where those benchmarks and the targets are at. So some people are asking things too, like, this would be great for a shift worker. Absolutely, right? Figuring out that it's hard as a shift worker. You don't have a circadian rhythm at that point because you're all over the place. And it depends what your shifts are. And our relationship to light and dark is massive for that internal rhythm in our body. So this can be helpful for that. Adri, who's got really sensitive adrenal issues, I'd recommend starting, again, low and slow, small amount, see how your body responds and how you feel. Can you have a sensitivity to hemp? You can ultimately have a sensitivity to anything. Truth be told, again, you would try it and see how your body feels. Someone's asking here, Donna, if there's the advantage to taking the higher strength, or is it better? Like, is there more benefit to staying on the lower dose for a longer period of time?
If you're new to CBD and you know that you're sensitive to medication, in other words, if you took a Benadryl and it knocks you out, I would say, always start with a regular strength and try it at the extra strength. I use the extra strength because I've been using CBD for a long time. Kind of you can plateau sometimes, and I just feel like titrating up and getting to that point where you want sort of more concentrated dose. I maxed out at 1 dropper full of the extra strength. I know people who take 2. I know people who can, they take half of a regular and it feels right for them. So I would start with the regular. I'd say a quarter or half. See how it goes there. So I think the same Audrey asked about if we recommend broad spectrum. Again, I would try the full spectrum and just see how you feel. Start small. As we said, we have a 30-day back guarantee. We don't make a broad spectrum. I'm not trying to steer you away from broad spectrum just because we don't make it, but I don't think that you would notice a huge difference between a broad and a full spectrum in that regard. Our products are available in Canada. Elaine is asking about the omega-3s. I know we're talking about CBD, but yes, hemp seed and hemp seed oil, actually, it is very relevant because our hemp seed, our CBD products, our tincture is made with organic hemp seed oil. Most CBD products on the market are made with MCT coconut oil. Nothing necessarily wrong with that. What we like about hemp seed oil and using our organic hemp seed oil is it gives you the added benefit of the omega-3s and 6s. As we said, hemp seed oil is the only vegan alternative to fish oil. So you get both. You get your daily dose of omegas and you get CBD. So it's sort of the power of the whole plant, which is what we really loved about making that and bringing that product out there. Again, use Cole Pike for 30% off on eatinhemp.com. Let's see what other questions we have. What would you not recommend CBD for? That is a good question. Well, I don't know if there's anything I wouldn't recommend for, because as we say, it's just something that even if you don't feel any underlying condition, it's great to use to give your body the tools it needs to fight off things or to just keep balance. So it's almost a proactive, compound to do. I don't know if you guys have a response to anything there.
To me, I would just go back to my earlier statement of seeing it as a modulator, a supporter of the ECS. Most problems today that we see clinically has inflammation at its roots, and the ECS plays a major role in regulating inflammation levels. So it's logical to say, and I would say this definitely is true for me clinically with my patients, that anything you can do that's healthy, that's safe, that's non-toxic, that's sustainable to support healthy, balanced inflammation levels and support ECS is a good idea. So that's why we're throwing a lot of different health issues out here, because this is a massive problem that we're seeing. And that's also the far-reaching implications and the benefits of a healthy ECS. So it's a lot of things.
No, and I think that's why when people talk about CBD, sometimes people tune it out because it can help. It can't be that good that it solves all these problems. Well, it doesn't solve all these problems. It just helps your body deal with these problems better. So it's I think people I would say just don't tune it out because you hear, well, it could help with sleep, it could help with anxiety, it could help with this, because it does help with those things. It doesn't cure all those things, but it does help with those things. How long will Cole Pike be good for? That is a good question. Finn, who is moderating the chat room here, will respond to that. Can it make you feel sluggish and overly laid back? I like that question. Liz, no, that's the beauty of CBD is it will not make you feel sluggish or overly laid back, as you put it. I guess if you, again, going back to my chamomile analogy, if you take it at night, it's more like a chamomile. If you take it in the morning, it's more like a green tea. So it just kind of brings your body into focus and kind of prepares it for whatever you're preparing it to do. As Jen said, well put, which is if you're on your screen at night and you're, it's not this magic elixir you take and all of a sudden you put your phone down and you're going to fall asleep. You actually have to work with it. So it's a tool.
I'd say Joanne, who's asking, she said her body typically has the opposite effect with nighttime over-the-counter medications, meaning she takes them and she's wired. I was talking about this. So what I would recommend with that, Joanne, is to test yourself. Because if you already have it in your mind that it might be stimulating, I wouldn't have you do it at night. I would say take it in the morning and notice how you feel. If it gives you more of a revved up feeling, then you know that probably isn't the thing you're going to use at night. It probably is not going to do that. I've not yet seen that from a clinical perspective. But again, every body is so different. So maybe start it in the morning, see. And then when you do take it at night, start at the smallest amount. Start with that, even like a quarter of a mil as opposed to a half. And then just go up from there. Adri, you're asking about a CBD cream. So they actually have a salve, which my husband swears by. He does CrossFit and he trains pretty intensely. And so he has the stick, which is the salve that he'll use even when he doesn't feel the discomfort. He just, after he's done his training, he puts it on, if he's been doing snatches or cleans or whatever, he's going to put that on his shoulders, on his neck. And he has found that that's made a big difference for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps with inflammation and spot pain treatment. But like you said, even if I know I'm going to be sore, I'll put it on places. I have, sort of sciatic pain, and it helps. I'm a big skier, and when I'm done skiing, I'll put it on my lower back, and I could feel that instantly. That's something where I could, definitely feel the instant, both the soothing, because we have arnica and things like that, but also the CBD reduces that inflammation and the muscle pain, as someone said. So the code is valid for 48 hours. So thank you, Finn, for answering that. I know we have just a couple minutes left, so I don't know if there's other questions that you guys all have. Let's see. I will relay an interesting study that a PhD student just did in Syracuse, where they were looking at how does CBD impact your body's ability to feel pain. And what they found was that and this maybe relates to kind of what we were talking about, it's a tool that your body will use. It doesn't get rid of the pain, but it reduces how your body experiences the pain. And so it's interesting. What they found was the analogy they used: if you put somebody in a room and you were blasting death metal, let's say they don't like death metal, I'm assuming, your body will go into stress, and you'll feel that, and you'll want to turn it off. CBD will turn that death metal to, light jazz, right? It's not going to change the volume, but it's going to change how you experience it, so that you're not stressed. Your body can then deal with fighting that pain in a different way. And so I thought that was an interesting study that they actually did, which is, and they're starting, one of the benefits now of CBD becoming kind of a household term and a widely known and sold product is we could study it more. And we could learn more about all the various things that it's doing to the body, and not just CBD, but other cannabinoids that, as I mentioned, are in the cannabis plant. So, and as we get towards more kind of widespread legalization, as is in Canada and the US, I'm sure, as many states are, including New York, we'll learn the same about THC, and hopefully be able to use it and incorporate it as an actual tool that doctors and functional medicine experts and folks kind of prescribe, and have the actual, peer-reviewed publications to back it up, more than even just anecdotal evidence. So I don't know if you guys can speak to that, and kind of any kind of research you've come across that's been helpful, to in your discussions with patients too.
No, I mean, that's great. I mean, it's definitely my experience clinically with patients, for sure. And I'm excited to see that. I have no doubt over the next 10 years that there'll be a lot more exciting studies to show the power of what we're seeing, the impact it can have on human physiology. And yeah, I think I'm seeing so much clinically, and the research now is compelling, but I can only imagine another 10 years what we're going to see. Yeah,
exactly. Well, we have three questions here that maybe we can take, and then we could wrap up. They're all great questions. Radiation for treatment for breast cancer. I don't know if either of you have dealt with patients who've incorporated it into their treatment process, maybe reduces nausea and things like that. So maybe you guys can speak to that.
I personally have not in my practice.
Yeah, I mean, we have had patients that are in the tail end of their treatment, I would say. We're not with them at the beginning of it. And we're a complementary adjunctive component of it. And I see CBD as one tool of many in the toolbox, when we're looking at the foods that they're eating, we're looking at other things that they're taking in. And I see it as being a tool to consider. But just like we talked about with medications, if you're under treatment with anything else, conventional cancer treatment, get to go ahead. And we can work on that from a functional medicine side. Or if you don't have a functional medicine doctor, get to go ahead and start off low and slow, like we've been saying. Yep.
And then for breastfeeding and pregnancy, Jen, maybe is this something you've dealt with more in your practice?
Yeah, I have. And to be honest, a lot of what I'll suggest to the women is to also connect with the company that they are using, right? Because it does come down to brand, to quality. I typically don't use it in breastfeeding, to be honest, just because we do need to be a bit more cognizant of how sensitive baby can be and what is passing from mom to babe. But I do have some women I know who take it with no issue at all when they're breastfeeding. And I've worked with some women who have used it in pregnancy for nausea. Who have suffered really bad from having a lot of nausea, but they're using a very small amount and not on a daily basis, just as needed.
Sure. And then, well, this is a good question to end on. Can the tincture be used in recipes such as cookies?
That sounds like a Dan question.
Yeah, I will address that. Yeah, I mean, you could use it as a recipe. I don't know how it's going to impact the taste, especially, but our CBD oil has no flavoring. It's got kind of a natural taste. You can tell it's definitely been extracted from a plant. I think when you put it into food, I'm always leery of putting CBD into food because I just think that when it gets mixed up, and there's no scientific basis to what I'm saying, but I feel like, just when you're putting into food or into a beverage, your body's breaking it down different than if you're taking it kind of, by its lonesome. So, but again, try it and see how you feel. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you guys giving us the hour. This is wonderful. Jenn Pike, you could find her on the Simplicity Sessions, her podcast, wherever podcasts are found. And Dr. Cole, thank you so much. I don't know if you want to give, where can people best find you for your practice? And then obviously your books on Amazon are widely available and they're New York Times bestsellers, and I highly recommend those as well. But where in terms of your practice?
Yeah, everything's at drwillcole.com, drwillcole.com. And podcast, The Art of Being Well, same thing. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, books. You can get on Amazon.
That's right. Sorry, I forgot to mention your podcast, The Art of Being Well. It's great too.
All right. It's all right.
And Cole Pike, 30% off on eatonhemp.com for the next.
We should have a reunion tour next time.
Yeah, Cole Pike 2022 next year, same time, same place. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us.
Everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.